here with you all. And yeah, I would love to hear from you. Intentions for the call. Maybe I can start. I'm Almond. Intentions is to review some issues and share a new sync proposal that I love your feedback on. And I'll pass it to Suga.
Oops, sorry. Here to sync, and yeah. I have to, super distracted in the middle of dinner and have to jump at the 30 minutes today. It's a busy, very busy, exceptionally busy family day, and yeah, sorry about that.
Family day?
Well, some stuff going on in the family. Okay.
Jim?
I'll pass it to Ashley.
Jim?
Feeling very overwhelmed, by the way.
Thanks, Suga. Hang in there. I am here, and my intentions for the call are to stream, just stay in sync as we start to develop like comms, and just see what's on the agenda for today and where I can add any value. And I will pass it to Nicola.
Thanks, Ash. Hi, everyone. I wanted to say my name is Nicola, and okay. Yeah, I'm here to mostly just make sure that I support as much as I can this like transition period, and I'm here to sync up too, and that's it. I'm gonna pass it to Jake.
Cool. Let's see. Feeling good. Intentions for the call. I know there's been some. Of course, last week's call was really fun. Thank you, Almond, for putting that together. Would love to hear kind of the next steps from that, and I'm assuming that's kind of what we'll go over today. So that's my interest. And I joined a little late, but it looks like there's nothing else I need to go over in terms of check-in, so I'll pass it to a mod.
Thanks, Jake. Yeah, my intentions, I guess, are to talk about the sub-DAOification and to also, if we can decide on what the sub-chapters are, I think that would be cool. And like basically who would be in charge of which of the sub-chapters, and then what our focuses would be. Yeah, so that's mainly it, and I'll pass it to Lauren.
Yeah, thanks, Samad. Yeah, my intentions for the call are just to keep in the loop, and I guess I'm interested in talking about like the sub-chapters and like the leading of sub-chapters and stuff like that. In particular, I'm interested in supporting on the social media stuff, and yeah, what else? Yeah, I'm a little bit distracted by just like having gone to the kitchen to make some food, and there's tons of people in my kitchen right now, and they're talking to me at the same time. And I'll pass it back to Almond.
Thank you, Lauren. Perfect. Yeah, we're going to cover, I think, the majority of the things that you all mentioned today. And before going in the next steps of what we discussed Franco, sorry, I didn't start.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
Franco, please go ahead.
I'm just here to just catch up. Like I was catching up with last week's call, and like I saw that you were doing this transition and like this new kind of like structuring of the comms. So I'm just here to just see if I can chip in any way. So just here to listen.
Perfect.
Back to you,
Thank
Oman.
you so much, Franco. I'm sorry. Okay. Perfect. So before going on the next steps of what we discussed last week, I would just love to check in some comms issues that we were discussing last week. So first, we have here on the agenda the autopilot organization. We were mentioning that Autopilot is not very organized, and we need basically an owner that makes sure to have some order and get the most out of Autopilot. So I was talking with Ahmad, and he agreed on being the Autopilot owner, which I think that's great. Thank you so much, Ahmad. So I would love to maybe review some of the next steps that we can make in order to organize Autopilot. I saw that you added some things, so maybe you can share with us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so mainly I have a call with Carlos tomorrow, mainly just to talk about the segment section and like the triggers that are set up. And I also made this sheet where I'm going through each of the emails one by one that we're sending out. This is also based on another sheet that Ashley made for, earlier, where like she listed all of the emails that we have and which ones are no longer used. Yeah, so I'm basically just going through them one by one. And so that's what the next steps for this are, is just to basically do just an audit of these emails one by one and figure out which ones are working properly. And then after that, we need to figure out which are the next ones that we'll implement. So, for example, we need to do the give power emails mainly for when a project gets boosted. So that's like the main email. And like that's like the one that's in the notification center that we can send an email for. And then for the other ones, we'll need to talk to Monique about setting up like different notifications for them. But for now, we could at least do that one. And then also, I also want to implement the onboarding sequence as well, since I think that would be a big one to also help us onboard more users. Yeah, so that's basically it. I'll probably have more updates next week after my meeting and after I go through everything.
Oh, this is great. Perfect. Yeah, definitely having an onboarding sequence will make a lot of sense. Cool. So I can check in with you if you need any support for any of this. But I think it's a great starting point for us to organize a little bit the Autopilot. Everyone has something that would like to touch. Maybe Ashley, I don't know if you have something to add on this. I know that you were managing.
I just want to say that Ahmad is a hero. And I also, like, one of the other emails that I was kind of working with Carlos is the mandatory update. So maybe you could put that next to give power. I was talking with Carlos and there's like some weird segment stuff going on. He's got to figure out like the event isn't quite right for the date of when they update it or something like this. But so that's like one thing. I think we have the events ready, but yeah, anyways. Yeah. Thank you.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, this was a big priority. Perfect. Then before going into the comms chapter, maybe something that we can touch on first is these social media, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Lens that Lauren added. So if you want to maybe share a little bit of that, Lauren.
Yeah, so I've been talking to Steve, just trying to get him a little bit more onboarded into the Twitter flow. He's been like drafting tweets and I've been like reviewing them and putting them up. And eventually I kind of like want to move towards also just like, instead of people tagging me to review things and schedule them, tagging Steve to review things and schedule them. But anyway, so for now you can still tag me to review and schedule things. I'm just like, first step is I'm going to get Steve to start scheduling his own tweets, and next step will be that. But anyway, so that's just the quick update. And then the other thing I just wanted to mention is like Steve was like, yeah, I would love to like get access to the Lens so that he can start posting on there. And then also he wants to get access to the LinkedIn so he can start posting on there. And I'm happy to just like connect him and give him access on those things. And like he seems to just think like, he can do it with like relatively low effort, basically just like reposting what we put on Twitter. And especially with like tweets, he's just going to like make them into like images and post them on LinkedIn and stuff like that. So, I just want to check in with the team just to make sure that like that seems like a good use of resources and that it's like kind of aligned with like our overall strategy. We were talking about like scaling up lens or maybe not or blah blah blah. But anyway, Steve's not coming to these calls but he's like talking to me and he's just like, I want to do these things. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I mean, so yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think?
So basically that would be what Claire was doing, right? So post on LinkedIn, and Lens now, and kind of like repurpose our content in order to be more aligned with LinkedIn or Lens or other platforms.
And specifically LinkedIn and Lens. He didn't mention anything about Facebook. I mean, I can ask him if he wants to as well, but like, I don't know, the cross-posting also takes time. And I want Dee to start being able to come to the comms calls. He's in Singapore, Malaysia. He's in a horrible, horrible time zone where this is like the middle of his night, so he'll never be able to make it. So like, I don't know if we wanted to include him in the calls, maybe it would make sense to move them. But otherwise, I like meet with him sometimes, and he could anyway just do that. He could do that if we wanted him to do that. Like, does it sound good? And I should just empower Steve to start like posting on the LinkedIn and the Lens, or is there any kind of like, no, let's not do that for now. Instead, some other thing.
I think for me, and of course, I would love to hear everyone else's opinions, but I feel that right now, the way that we've been managing social media was very granular, having someone managing Twitter, someone managing LinkedIn, and that's not a great strategy. I think that is better if we have one person managing social media. So for that part, I think is great to have him doing more because that's more coherent. My only concern is that, as you mentioned, Steve is your point of contact, and is for me has been very hard to try to find him and coordinate with him. So just worried that if the idea is that at some point you can step out of comms, but he really isn't here that much, then it would be kind of like a trap for you, like having him only communicating with you. So that would be my concern, that I don't see him very aligned with the team. He said eventually I want him to basically take over leading to Twitter.
I think it might be worthwhile looking at rescheduling this call to be like some point earlier in the day. Yeah, it was a long time ago we picked this time. So now our comms contributors have changed and stuff like that. And like, maybe it's worth putting some, like a doodle out there and just seeing like if we can find a slot. He is available like up until like it would, 8 to 9 a.m. Mexico time. I think on any day would be the time that Steve could join us. That's still acceptable for other people. So if we could pick any day, Monday through Friday, that's 8 to 9 a.m. Mexico City time or 10 a.m. Eastern, or I think it's like, I don't know what time it is, CET. 2 hours before the CET.
Okay. What do others people think? Do you agree on moving this goal earlier? Basically 2 hours earlier. Are you available? I think that would be this same day. Now I'm checking the calendar. I don't see that's anything scheduled. Oh, I think that there is, but it's not here. Yeah.
I mean, I'd be fine moving it earlier.
I'll chime in. I'm cool with 2 hours earlier. And like I said in the chat, I think if he's taking over content and creating content, definitely needs to be more integrated with the team to create that content. If it's just, reposting here in the beginning, then yeah, you don't really need to move the call because reposting, you don't need understanding or background. But
I'm definitely not available. I'm definitely not available 2 hours earlier. 1 hour is okay, not great, but 2 hours is like physically impossible.
Okay. Well, I think what we need to do is like maybe set up a doodle or something. I can do that and also just like talk to Steve and just like get some feelers for like what morning acceptable time, what America morning time is acceptable for people. And then in the meantime, I can just like, I can set him up to be just like cross-posting stuff that we're already putting on Twitter, like for the time being before he like gets more in the loop. And then like if we actually have like Steve more integrated and then we're like changing the way that we're going to do things, we want to use his time in another way, then like I can get him to do that this week. And then like next week when things change, we can change.
Okay. Definitely, I would not like to lose Suga from this sync, so that would be an issue. I really think that's important that at least the team that's working on comms right now is in the call. So yeah, we should definitely check that it's the right time for everyone to that's contributing to comms, right? Sorry, Ahmed, you were going to say something.
Yeah, like just going back to the LinkedIn thing. So I think for Lens, it makes sense maybe just to take what we're posting on Twitter and just repost it because it's like Web3 audience. But I don't know. I think Lauren, maybe for LinkedIn, if you want to give Steve like more freedom to think about ways to expand the audience for LinkedIn. Because looking at our LinkedIn now is mostly just like partnership updates and maybe some updates from the product. And I think Steve's good at writing like viral things that are like, like different things that I think are more like top of the funnel for like to get people into Web3. And maybe LinkedIn is a better channel for that, for him to test those things out. So yeah, like maybe he can like think about something more relevant to LinkedIn that's not as focused on our product, maybe.
I totally agree. And actually, like, you can look in the Giveth planning board. I've been getting Steve has been drafting like sets of tweets that are going out on Twitter, and I don't know if you keep very close eye on the Twitter, but like we already have other content going out right now that's a little bit more general, or just like kind of like imagine a world where like communities build public goods from the bottom up. This is the world we're building at Giveth. Stuff like that, you know, general statements, sort of like kind of inspiring. And he's like doing a lot of experimentation with that. So I kind of like this idea for a direction for Twitter. Of course, it can just change based on like what our KPIs and our strategic goals are for comms, but I already think it's kind of better to then be doing more of that than more just like product focused and stuff. So I agree. And I'll let Steve kind of like do a little bit of like judgment and free reign, but I do really want him to be more integrated in the team. So that like everyone's collective ideas are being shared, and like his good ideas, which are very aligned with a lot of the rest of the comms team, can like influence as well our strategy. So I think this like maybe call time change is really important, but obviously we can't lose Suga. You know, we need to find a time that like our contributors can go to, and if we can't find a time that our contributors can go to and Steve goes to, then we can't move the call basically. But I'll try to see if I can figure it out.
Great. Okay. I think that we have a plan. Just try to integrate Steve more if he's going to be managing our social media. Okay, let's move to comms as a Giveth chapter. I added this point because I think that there is not a lot of clarity regarding what's going to happen with comms while we're moving on this DAOification process. And I would love to talk a little bit about this and then listen to your thoughts. So in the past, comms used to be a working group. Right now, comms will be becoming a chapter. And I would like to emphasize that because I think there's still some confusion around it. So there will be two structures on Giveth. There are working groups that will have their own KPIs, that will have their goals, their strategy, and will also be chapters. So the chapters will not have their own KPIs. They will be a resource in order for the working groups to achieve their goals. So what does this mean is that Communitas working group will go into communications and will share their necessities and the things that they need. And basically, comms is going to deliver or try to deliver to Communitas what they're asking. So technically, that's the structure that we'll be moving on. And there are some challenges with this structure because the way that's planned right now is that basically comms will be a resource for all these other working groups. But we will not have our own KPIs. So that's a challenge for sure. The other important part of this new structure is that us being a resource for the other working groups, we will need to inform better the working groups in a way that just inform them if they're having a good idea or maybe not, and then guide them in order to achieve their goal. So we need to be very vocal on their requests and analyze all these requests and communicate better with the other working groups in order for all of these requests to make sense. Until now, any questions, any comments about this restructuring to becoming a chapter? Okay, so the state in which comms is right now is, as you know, all the other stewards are preparing their proposals to be posted on the forum, and then for having all the contributors to review the working group's KPIs and goals and strategy. And right now in comms, what I'm working on is to gather all the feedback and all the comments that you all have shared with me, and then review and make an analysis of all the feedback that right now there is in comms. You can check all the feedback in our last meeting. Notes is great feedback. Then I'm working on a little bit of restructuring the resources that we already have in order to make sure that we're tackling the blind spots that you all mentioned, right? So some of you mentioned that there's not enough clarity with the resources that we have right now. So I'm working on a restructuration in order to make sure that we are making better use of our resources. Then the next step is to create a strategy with the timeline that's going to be executed over the next 2 months. And also request some new resources that we're missing in order to really cover and achieve the organization goals. And the last part is the implementation. Again, covering this 2 months plan that I'm working on right now. So I know that in the past we were reviewing a new strategy for comms, but I think that with this in mind of really comms being a chapter, we really need to build something that's more that make more sense with this new structure, and as well to create better processes for all to communicate with the other working groups, right? So that's the idea. The strategy and the timeline, I'm going to present that this week, and then start working next week with this new strategy and timeline and everything that's going to be more clear. So that's kind of like the picture. Any questions, any comments, any thoughts on this DAOification comms becoming a chapter?
So I guess part of that also involves comms as a bit of a liaison as well between working groups, right? Because if we're kind of assisting different working groups with their ideas or their needs, so to speak, we also need to, I guess we'll also be helping them coordinate those needs with the bigger picture. That's all. That sounds
Exactly.
great, by the way. Thank you, Holly, for explaining that. That was really clear and exciting.
Yay, I'm glad. Exactly. The idea is to establish better processes for everyone to make sure that we're receiving the information and that we have everything covered. Yeah, well, I'm glad that this is exciting for you. And then
And now I have to go. I'm very sorry. It's an exceptional situation today. So I'm sorry I have to jump now, but I will come back and see what I missed.
no worries, Suga.
And we'll sync again. We can sync again this week already if you want. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Suga.
Okay,
I
cool.
can get my button here. Still here. How awkward. Anyway.
Bye. Okay, and then the last part of this meeting, I would love for us to review a proposition that I work on about a new comms sync format. And I thought on this because, again, listening to your feedback, there are some blind spots in the comms chapter right now that are not very clear. And I think that reorganizing the sync, the weekly sync that we have in a way that help us have a broader picture, a better overview of the high priorities, of the high-level comms strategic overview will help everyone to understand and align first the team efforts and then have a broader context of everything that's happening in comms. So I really think that we can make a better use of this hour. So I would love to go through this proposal and then listening to your feedback and just tell me what you think is a good idea or maybe what can we change. So the first thing is that I would love to have a sync kickoff. So everyone that's joining this call, making a brief update on their current progress, challenges, or relevant information regarding comms. So basically it would be, hey, I'm Almond and I'm making progress creating a new strategy for the comms chapter, something like that. So very short. And the idea for this is to have a better understanding of what everyone is doing in comms. So I was listening that there's some uncertainty and ambiguity regarding what everyone is doing on comms. So I think that having a brief update on their current progress, or whatever is relevant to comms to start the meeting will be useful for us to understand what is everyone doing. So that's the first part. The second part is to have an agenda. So basically, share a quick overview of what will be covered on the meeting. So going really quick through all the points. And then I think that it will be good to have a high-level strategic overview. So what does this mean is for me or for whoever wants to share some of the really high level work in progress that we have on comms right now, for us to be on the same page of what are the comms priorities, what are we working on. So for example, here a good case will be to share that the high level strategic overview right now is the optimism campaign, and the I don't have any other example. Oh, for example, if if a product is going to be launched in the next weeks, then that would be another high-level strategic priority for us. And also, it's important to mention that this product is going to launch, and we need to build a plan in order to tackle all the necessities, right? So that's really quick as well. And the part that I would really like to modify is how are we going to be sharing progress updates, blockers, or really share with the team a more clear picture of the things that we will be working on. So right now we're focusing on issues. And I think that having this very granular way of seeing the things is not useful, because as is very granular, then you're not able to see the big picture and what does this actually mean. So here I would love for team members to come and then submit their updates on the agenda beforehand, as we're doing right now. So that will not change. But instead of adding issues, I would love for the people that wants to add something in the agenda to really share something more robust, like a quick summary of the task, of what they're working on, and any current blockers or challenges that they might be facing for this meeting, to really focus on the challenges and tackling the ways that we can cover this, instead of coming here and kind of like, I feel that sometimes we're doing the homework together, and that's not being very useful in order to really come with solutions to the things that we're working on right now. So Lauren will write a quick summary of what this working with Steve means, and then address any current blocker or challenges that she will need in order to get support to make that happen. And then to have, of course, some time for Q&A, so questions, clarifications, any project-related matters or feedback that any other member of the team have. And after finishing the meeting, I will post a follow-up on the Discord in order to have like a quick summary, tagging the responsibles and the next steps for us to really have a reference point of what is everyone working at and clear next steps on how to move forward. So some notes that I added with this new structure, I think that it will require a little bit of more work before, which I think is good, because as well, we've been noticing that there's not much comms participation of the contributors in the meeting. So this is a way in which I would love to have more people really contributing and really tackling some issues, so having more participation. So that will require to really add in this format your items beforehand to ensure that they're covered during the call. And then also this new format for me is a way that we can start really using in a more efficient way GitHub, and really following up in our tasks, to not really come to this meeting and again kind of like do the homework. This will be already made, and we will be here to better use our time to clarify questions or tackle issues or really support what it's need to support, and just use more efficient everyone's time. So yeah, that's the idea. Please let me know your thoughts. If you will modify something, if you think this will be useful, if you think that maybe we should try a different thing, I would love to hear your thoughts on this.
I like it. I think it's a really good structure, and I think that I mean, yeah, I like it. I like the structure around like going through blockers, having like some strategic high level overview, because I think that's something that we're definitely missing. And then there's like some accountability as well, with like everybody kind of providing progress updates, and yeah, time for Q&A. I feel like over time the sections might a little bit meld together. Like I feel like when you're giving a progress update and talking about blockers, you might end up with like Q&A, but I guess like Q&A is kind of like, okay, time designated for catch-all. So I think it's a good structure, and I don't really have any suggested changes, and I think it's great to go for it.
Great. Anyone else have any comments or questions around this? I think that if you all agree on try this new format, I would love to start next week. And also I think that for me, this will require to really make sure that the people that's owning the projects add their items to the agenda, or their summaries, or their challenges, or whatever, right? So for example, in this case, I will make sure that Ahmad write everything down regarding the autopilot. So it would be more of like my job to really make sure that the contributors are adding their items beforehand. So, okay, that's cool. I think that if, go ahead, Ahmad, Ashley.
Yeah, Ashley, go for it first.
Okay, I was just gonna ask, like, between the kickoff progress, current progress, like, update, and then the progress updates, like, what's the difference between the progress updates in the kickoff and the progress updates in the number 3?
Sure. So here will be basically everyone saying a brief update of their current progress on whatever they like to talk about. So for example, yeah, just updated the Giveth comms homepage. That's it. And then you can pass it. And then the progress updates blockers be a section in which kind of like this way has that might not feel complete or might not be very clear. Here we'll have, okay, I want to discuss the autopilot thing. This is the status. These are the things that I'm working on, and I really need support on these. This is the challenges that I've been facing. How can I overcome whatever I need help with? So this will be more of like an intentional way of discussing the priorities of the call. Does that make sense? Matt, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, maybe just clarification on something. So for the updates, I was wondering if you think it makes more sense if we maybe split it instead by subchapter and have like each of the subchapters give like updates instead of each person, because it might be more organized that way, just because like there might be people working on many different subchapters, and like just to know like all the stuff that we're doing for social media, for example, in one update, like as opposed to like 3 people mentioning what they did on social media that week. You know?
Mm-hmm. You mean for this part, right? The progress of these and blockers?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So you mean, for example, having, okay, what are the updates for the SEO and the analytics, for example?
Yeah, exactly.
I like that. Okay.
And then like, what are the updates for social media? What are the updates on like the partnership side? What are the updates on email? You know, and each of them, there'll be like one person giving updates for that section.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really like that. Again, I think that that will require really having people putting some time to this agenda in order to really make everything more efficient, but I definitely like it. So right now, just to have everyone on the same page, we were thinking to have different components for the comms chapter. This is a work in progress, but a way in which we are looking forward to structure comms would be to have a separated effort on the analytics and more on the data analysis, SEO, Google Analytics, actually maybe as well the Giveth app. A different part of comms would be to focus on content and creativity. So, for example, if there's a product that is going to be launched soon, then we will have a brainstorm feedback creative session in a way that, okay, we can make these actions, we can make this thing, we can make this activity, we can have this event, we can have a Twitter space, we can send a press release. So that's another component, more of like the creative content part of all the actions that we will be doing. Then another part is social media, which will be social media management. That includes copywriting, social media management, and also design. So creating audiovisual videos or different more visual components. And the last part that I'm still working on will be to have a separate marketing effort, because I've noticed that there's not a lot of clearance regarding comms and marketing, which are not the same thing and that need to be tackled in a different way. So I'm working also to build a separate marketing effort as well regarding comms. So yeah, what Ahmad, basically all this that I'm saying is that share with you that all these elements will be covered in these progress updates and blockers. And I think that that's a good idea. Okay, cool. Well, of course, Nicola, go ahead.
Yeah, me too. I am just curious. I'm trying to imagine like how it's gonna work. And maybe I'm not sure if it's just too early to have this discussion, but I don't have a clarity now actually at this moment if I should continue writing the tweets for verified projects, because we had this discussion last time and I'm not sure if you don't want to move forward with it or not. Where does it go? How do I, let's say I'm a lead of the product. How do I come and request for the comms support? Do I come into the call? Do I request in the chat, or is the comms somehow going to be? Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on this? Comms going to be going to the calls of the different groups, or how is it gonna fall into it?
That's a great question, for sure. And I think that that's something that I will be able to answer with more clarity next week. The way of request things for comms is by GitHub. So you need to create an issue in order for us to review your necessities and make them happen. If you will need to keep writing the tweets, I would say that's not ideal. The best scenario would be to have someone dedicated to copywriting or to write these different pieces. But right now we don't have that resource yet. So I would say that for now, I will ask you for some patience while we are looking for and covering the spots that we're missing, because right now there's no one covering that except for maybe me or Lauren, which we're not as well fully dedicated to that. So yeah, I will ask you your support while we figure out the resources that are missing. But answering your question, the way to ask for all your needs will be through GitHub. Will that make sense?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
And I want to mention thanks, Ashley, because I know that you're also starting comms, changing the admin bro Giveth homepage projects thing. So I know that, again, that's not ideal. We should focus on the comms tasks, but right now we're really planning on the resources that we need.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind helping at all with the admin bro stuff. I was just actually made a message in the comms channel. I know Suga wants to learn, and I know you want to learn, and so maybe like at the beginning of July, and this is a little like sidetracked from what we're talking about, but maybe like at the beginning of July when it's time to make these changes, I can just do a like demo in this call or in the comms call and like make like a 10-minute demo of how to make these changes and show everybody all at the same time, or I don't know, we can work it out, but I definitely don't mind supporting with some of these tasks at all. I'm good at like just I can just copy and paste the information in and put the images in and stuff. I don't have to write any tweets. I don't have to like write any blog things. That's totally fine. I love it.
Thank you, and thank you as well, Nico. Okay, well, great ideas here. I agree that the long term, these can kind of like the sections can last a little bit, but it's okay. I think if we just try different ways to make this call more efficient and give more clarity to everyone, will be a good start. And then, yeah, let's change these updates to our main comms working items. And cool. I don't have anything else to cover today, so I think that we can give everyone 10 minutes of your time, unless someone has anything else to add. Please do it now. O callen para siempre, as we said in Spanish. But if no, I think that we can end this meeting a little bit early. Okay, cool. Perfect. Jake, go ahead.
Thanks for the 10 minutes.
Yeah, thank you for coming. Thanks everyone.
Almond.
Have a good Tuesday.
Well done. See you later.
Take care.
Thanks,
Bye.
Amon. Bye.
Bye.